Hello, it's December 9th, 2011, and you're watching another episode of Open Air with Tom Remington, and that would be me. I don't know if you've been following this whole, well, I'm not sure what exactly to call it without getting angry, but this whole episode with Fast and Furious and walking guns across the Mexican U.S. border and the Department of Justice and excuse me, the entire role that our government is playing in this, it's actually it's really disgusting, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. You know, the people of this country have been lied to so badly by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, which is under the jurisdiction of the Department of Justice. Who heads that up is Eric Holder, who is, like best friends with Barack Obama. And, they're all Chicagoites, they're all crooks and criminals, and they've all been brought up in that, umbrella of corrupt politics out of, and I'm not just picking on these guys in Chicago because it's everywhere. But anyway, the latest on this Fast and Furious, and for those that need a little catching up, essentially what we were told originally was that the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, which I'll call just the ATF, the ATF said they were going to set up a sting operation. So they were going to get gun sellers in certain locations around the southwest of the United States to cooperate, and they were going to set up these sales of guns to to people who were then running them across the border to the Mexican drug cartel. Okay, well, that's not what happened, which we found out. And there have been literally thousands of guns that have been sold, taken, delivered by federal agents across the border into Mexico and given to these people, okay, which doesn't make any sense. If you're trying to set up a sting to stop the illegal sale or straw purchases, if you will, of guns, which is a third-party buying and giving to somebody who couldn't legally buy, why would you need to physically take these guns into Mexico and give them to the drug cartel? It doesn't make any sense. In addition to that, Americans have been killed because of these guns. Now, we know a Border Patrol agent was gunned down with a weapon that came from this Fast and Furious. I read in one place, and I didn't get the link ready because it didn't come to me until just now, that as many as 200 violent crimes have taken place in the U.S. As a result of these guns that are now everywhere, because our ATF and Department of Justice has seen fit to, arm criminals. Okay. Now, when stuff like this goes on, sane, rational, sensible people, and I'll take that claim, and you decide for yourself whether I'm lying or not. We question the whole legitimacy of that, and we ask the questions of why is this necessary? What is really behind this? And those of us who have been in this battle for years and years, we understand what's behind it. What's behind it is our government wanting to strip from us our right to keep and bear arms. That's what's behind all of this. Now, you can laugh, oh, it's never going to happen. We need common sense laws to restrict guns because, guns kill people. They grow legs and walk off by themselves and randomly kill people. And there's no statistics to back up any of the claims about how lawfully armed people increases crime or any of that stuff. It's all about controlling you and me. That's what it's about. And I was telling my wife just last night that the one main ingredient left in this country that keeps us from total collapse, and I mean being taken over by, let's say, a dictatorial type of regime, if you will, is the fact that there are millions of people in this country that own millions of guns and millions of rounds of ammunition. And that in itself is a deterrent. And these governmental people who want to control you, they need to stop this gun ownership somehow so that they can move forward with their thing. So when people like us or like me, when I talk about these things, I'm laughed at, I'm demonized, you're a conspiracy theorist, and you're fear-mongering and all of this. Am I? Am I really? Look around, open your eyes. Okay, if you dare to, open your eyes and look around and see what's going on around you. Anyway, getting back to this latest thing. Okay, when people like myself speak up and we make claims like they're only trying to take our gun rights away, and then we're laughed at, I want to point out that it came out yesterday, and you may not know this because the media isn't going to report it, okay? Because the media is as bad as these idiots who want to take your rights away, okay? They're controlled by those who want to control us. So the media, through them, controls you and me, gets into our minds, and it fills us with all this stuff that isn't true. Ooh, conspiracy theory. Lock this guy up. He's nuts. Okay, well, CBS News yesterday came out with an article, and it was about how that emails that were exchanged between ATF people and the Department of Justice indicate that, in fact, the purposes, or one of the purposes of this whole Fast and Furious thing was to impose stricter gun selling laws on gun dealers. And on July 14th of 2010, and I'm reading from, I printed out part of the news thing, after ATF headquarters in Washington, D.C. received an update on Fast and Furious, ATF Field Ops Assistant Director Mark Shate, however you pronounce that, emailed Bill Newell, ATF's Phoenix Special Agent in charge of Fast and Furious, and the email said this: Bill, can you see if those guns we all purchased from the same licensed gun dealer, and at one, could you see if the guns were all purchased from the same licensed gun dealer and all at one time? We are looking at anecdotal cases to support a demand letter on long gun multiple sales. Thanks. Okay, just a quick on the demand letter thing. Okay, the ATF wrote these 3 letters, and the 3 letters basically they called demand letters because they wanted to demand gun dealers to begin undertaking certain regulations and bureaucratic red tape and everything. And the demand letter 3 was to require gun dealers to report to the ATF immediately if they sold more than one gun to one individual in a 3, 4, 5 day period, something like that. Okay, so that's what the demand letter is referring to. And then later on January 4th, 2011, as ATF prepared a press conference to announce arrests in Fast and Furious, Newell, the head of the Phoenix office, saw it as, quote from the email, another time to address multiple sale of long guns issue. And a day after this press conference, Mark Chait emails Bill Newell and says, quote from the email, Bill, well done yesterday. In light of our request for demand letter 3, this case could be a strong supporting factor if we can determine how many multiple sales of long guns occurred during the course of this case. I wanted to make sure that, that's something different I'll get to in a second. Okay, so we know now that they are attempting to use the information that they've gotten from their ridiculous operation that's out of control. It's out of hand. Guns are everywhere. People are getting killed. And by the way, yesterday, the Department of Justice head Eric Holder said that these guns that they were responsible for distributing around will be used in crimes in the United States of America for decades to come. Okay, responsible, right? Okay, so back to this whole Fast and Furious thing. The ATF, which is like, well, I'll get in trouble for saying it, but I'll say it anyway. They're like a Nazi or Gestapo organization in which they hold so much power and authority in what they do, even though that completely exceeds the bounds of the United States Constitution, of which most people don't care about anymore, okay, that most gun dealers, those people who buy and sell guns to lawful Americans, are so intimidated by the power that is wielded by the ATF that they dare not buck them or go against them because, the truth of the matter is the ATF can make their life pretty darn miserable. Okay, so the ATF goes out and they work with, they contact some of these gun dealers and they ask them if they would be willing to work with the ATF in this sting operation. Now, of course, the gun dealers are led to believe one thing, and then they're beginning to see what is taking place, and they don't like it. And to give you an example in these emails that it contained, one of the gun dealers who's been cooperating, he sends an email off to, I believe it was, perhaps it was Bill Newell at the Department of Justice, I'm not sure, but the email says, I wanted to make sure that none of the firearms that were sold per our conversation with you and various ATF agents could or would ever end up south of the border or in the hands of bad guys. I guess I'm looking for a bit of reassurance that the guns are not getting south or in the wrong hands. I want to help ATF with its investigation, but not at the risk of agents' safety, because I have some very close friends that are U.S. Border Patrol agents in southern Arizona, as well as my concern for all the agents' safety that protect our country. And there were other letters that followed this asking the same thing. Hey, I need some assurances here, okay? I'm cooperating with you, and I want to make sure all these guns that are going out of here by the thousands aren't ending up where they shouldn't end up, and that I'm not going to get in trouble for doing it. This is how this corrupt, crooked whole operation has run. While this is going on, Eric Holder's back in Washington denying that he knows anything about it. We've proven that was a lie. He's been brought before Congress to testify about this. Yesterday he says again, nobody at the Department of Justice lied about Fast and Furious. And when addressed that specifically about lying, he pulled a Bill Clinton on the committee that was conducting the hearings, and made this confounded top spinning reply about what lying is, and. If you remember, when Bill Clinton was president and he was confronted about whether he was lying about whether he had sex with Monica Lewinsky, he used this stupid comment about, which has carried on for years and years since, about, well, it depends on what the definition of is. Well, Holder, this whole thing about, whether you're lying or not is really a matter of your state of mind. Okay, And what I'm getting at in all of this thing is what disturbs me and doesn't disturb enough people. And that's what is scares me for a number of reasons. But the biggest being that our moral guideline that we should be abiding by in this country is just sinking and sinking and sinking, where we put less importance on the idea that lying is bad. Even first of all, CBS, to my knowledge, as far as mainstream media, is really the only one covering this notion about the Department of Justice using this con job to manipulate and get their way to regulate and control guns unconstitutionally. Nobody cares. Okay, this is important stuff, and nobody cares. In addition, if you watch these idiots in Washington, and they're all idiots. They're all a part of this. Nobody wants to point a finger and accuse somebody about morals and ethics because they don't have any. Okay? So, they're sitting around here and we no longer, can call somebody a liar or that was a lie. Okay? I misspoke. Okay? Or I passed on incorrect information. Okay? And these guys sit there because somehow they're supposed to have some kind of friggin' respect for each other, and none of them have earned an ounce of it. And so they sit there and, well, Mr. Holder, I don't want to accuse you of telling misinformation to Congress, but could you? I mean, this guy's a perpetual liar. He's a crook. He's a thief. He's responsible for people's deaths because of a corrupt government operation which the purpose is to strip Americans of their constitutional right. And he's sitting here in Congress and being treated with kid gloves like he deserves some sort of respect. And they're talking about impeaching the guy, and they're talking about, all of these things. And people, we wouldn't want to do that. Can we impeach somebody for something like that? It's like, when are we going to get it? When are we going to get it? Today, early morning, I'm getting up, right? And I'm listening to the news, and there's this panel of people. I'm not sure who they were. They were an assortment of people. And they were talking, one of the things they talked about was a poll that came out asking people if they would vote for somebody to be president who had had extramarital affairs. And it was like 64 or 62% of the American people, according to this poll, said, yeah, they would vote for a person who had extramarital affairs. Well, personally, I don't care. That's up to the person who's voting. But one of the people on the panel made the comment of that people aren't looking for, somebody who is morally good. That people aren't looking for somebody who's, only been married perhaps once, and it was to somebody of the opposite sex. The people aren't interested in that. They're interested in who's going to give them a job. Now, this person on the panel may be right. I don't know. I don't have any hard data to support that. And I personally don't care whether there is data or not. The point being, she said that. And the point being that 62% of the people say they would vote for a candidate who had had extramarital affairs. But the bottom line is, this woman went on further to declare that this sort of, definitive, what am I trying to say here? That this sort of moral barometer, if you will, of our society is no longer important when it comes to the operation of our government. And I just sat there and I said, I totally disagree, and that's the problem. Okay? There is no moral fiber to guide the things and the decisions we do. I mean, here we got former New Jersey Governor John Corzine testifying before Congress yesterday about, losing $1.2 billion of people's money. I don't know where it went. Oh, I didn't mean to do something wrong. Okay? And that's it. There are laws against part of what took place. This isn't a matter of the guy was stupid. It's a matter of the law was broke. Okay? We need to fix the law. We shouldn't have people that corrupt and immoral sitting in places that of authority that are operating our local, state, and federal governments. I guess it's kind of, maybe the whole thing is like, I'm sure you've all heard the joke about, well, we were going to put together a living nativity scene for Christmas, but we couldn't find 3 wise men or a virgin. Maybe that's it. Maybe there just isn't anybody left with any moral backbone, and which would bring to reality what James Madison said many, many years ago, right after the Constitution was drafted, and was that the only way that the Constitution could be used as a document to guide this country from that day forward is if the country as a whole maintain a certain level of moral decency. And I question whether we've done that, and what we see in Congress and what's going on, and the dismissal of all of these corrupt things, the lying, the cheating, the stealing, it's everywhere, and there's so much of it, and none of it's being talked about, and it's sad. It's really sad, and you hate to, I have to admit, I'm not one of these people that sits around, rah, 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 America's a great country, we're going to come back and everything's going to be wonderful. America isn't the country that it used to be, and that bothers me. And it makes me really seriously question whether or not we can turn things around. And that really bothers me, and I wished it would bother more people. But anyway, I hope that you will begin asking some questions and try to get involved. And when you go to the polls, try to find somebody, anybody, with some decency in their bones. Somebody who won't lie, somebody who won't tell you things you want to hear just to get your vote. Good luck with that. All right. Hey, thanks for joining me, and tune in again for another episode of Open Air with Tom Remington.